another question, Amanda, or we?
Yeah.
We've got one here.
Is it working?
Another one there, and I see there's another one over there. We still have 5 minutes because the other
Okay, we got a bit of time.
Hey guys, so I'm building a startup in the collaboration.
Can you stand up because I'm not sure.
Yeah, my name is Ronald. I'm building a startup in the collaboration space. So I have 2 questions. The first one is for the whole panel, and then the second one is, I guess, for Meta AI, since you guys are building like LLMs and stuff. So tech in Africa is built on the backbone of large tech companies like all of you guys, right, that are scaling. So, like, what do you think is the shortest path to, scaling connectivity across Africa? And also,
the shortest path to scaling connectivity across Africa?
Yeah, and also making it so that we're not just mobile-first consumers. So, like, what are some of the internal conversations to scale that? And also, what are some of the internal conversations happening to make sure that, like, you guys address cultural nuances happening in, like, building large language models, given that, like, people in Africa haven't been on the internet for such a long time?
I think the first question we can direct towards our connectivity experts. Todd?
Yeah, the shortest path, I'll try to give also a very short answer. If we make it to Africa, you can host on, Africa is so vast, as a place. If you make it too expensive, so I think we've all talked about the opportunity. And if you really believe this will bring GDP growth, you cannot make it too expensive from the device to the spectrum to roll out the technology. If we make it cheaper, they will build because they have a chance to make money. And I think that's the fundamental thing. Will it be mobile only? No. But mobile will be a big part of that because to give home broadband in rural areas, I think that's going to be the solution. The device at home and it's 5G or 4G coming into the home. But I think that's the single biggest thing. So if we believe in GDP growth, don't make it so expensive to build.
Brian, would you like to add on that? And then also Michael would like to say something.
Yeah, no, let me add to that. So I think, aligned with Todd, but I think it's also a multi-layered question. Let's say, what would we like Africa to look like for connectivity? Fiber in every single home, fiber in every business, 4G, 5G mobile connectivity across the continent. And obviously in sort of, shall we say, remote rural areas where practically it's going to take a long time to get a piece of fiber there are alternative technologies that are coming into place. So one thing that we're working on is there's a company called AST Space Mobile that is trying to basically create the ability to do 2G, 4G, and 5G from satellites in space to a normal phone. Okay. Now that's starting to give us a layer that will enable us to basically reach all those rural areas. Now you're not going to get fiber-like speeds from space. It's just laws of physics. But what it does do is it starts to give you this layering effect. So I think to Todd's point, yes, lowering cost helps. There is a practical speed at which to roll this stuff out. But I think generally, if you think about it like this, it should be an evolution and should be something that's encouraged through regulation, collaboration, partnerships. Infrastructure is expensive. So we're doing a lot of partnerships, a lot of sharing, working with other telcos, working with the likes of sort of Meta, Google, working with all sorts of different partners to try and make sure that we have international connectivity, to make sure we have national long-distance backbones, to start looking at data centers and capabilities. And then obviously, yes, you've got to put the spectrum and start building it up. So I think we'll get there, but it's going to, even if you were to throw infinite money at it, the time is a practical thing, but we're trying to find solutions that we can try and get a layer of connectivity everywhere as fast as possible, and then try and build it up as quickly as we can.
Michael, you'd like to add to that? And Annika's also lifting the microphone, so let's go Dr. Annika to go first. And then
So according to one of the recent World Bank studies, it's going to take $109 billion to connect the entire continent. Even if private sector could contribute half of that, we still need government to come to the party. With building digital economies, it requires connectivity. So there needs to be that, public-private partnership that goes into this, making sure that our universal service funds actually are used for connecting those who are unconnected and not slush funds for most of our countries. And lastly, I like the idea that we have people who are kind of exploring digital technologies for connecting the unconnected. We also have to be realistic and accept that we also need a different financial model. In some communities, there are people who might never be able to afford the connectivity. So mixture of public Wi-Fi, of community networks, and having the regulation that enables that mixture. We have rural areas where mobile operators have told us it's in fact commercially not viable for them to service a village with 20 homes, for example. If they are able to find an alternative through a community-owned network, the same way we have the Zenzaleni community network in the Eastern Cape in South Africa, I think that it's time for us to be open to regulation that actually enables communities to build their own networks. Thank you.
Michael, yes, can you have a, oh, you good?
Yeah, I'll just add to actually what Monica said, because when you talk about, before we get to connectivity, there's coverage. And if you really look at the African continent, we have possibly 90% coverage, but how much of this 90% is connected? And if you look at the number, it's possibly 40% maximum. Now, the difference between the 40% to get to the 90, before you even touch on the last 10%, is where the gap is. So it's not necessarily the large infrastructure investment, it's a small things. How do you get the people to have the most niche devices that can actually do this? And we've tested this in the far remote areas Monica is talking about, and you find it in villages, spread out communities. One person stays here and another person is maybe 5 kilometers away. But the services you're innovating, the products you're providing in terms of AI are possibly targeted to these people who need it the most. So it's most likely going to be really expensive, but then to reach these people who need it the most. So if you come to urban areas, of course, it's much more easier to scale. But when you go to these deep areas, that's the question, and I think we have the answer. It's the partnerships, it's bringing government on board, and finding solutions in terms of how do we come together to offer the same wide solution can work for everyone.
Thank you, Michael. I believe, do we have